Imagine the sun dipping low behind the thick oaks and hickory trees, painting the river valley in soft gold as the day winds down around 2000 BCE. In this vast, untamed North America of the Archaic period, a small band of people, perhaps 20 souls, bound by blood and shared survival, settle into their temporary camp along a gentle bend in the river. The air carries the scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and the faint, fishy tang from the water. This is home for now, not forever. Their shelters are simple. Frames of young saplings bent and lashed together with strips of inner bark or sinew, draped with woven mats of reeds or deer hides to keep out the rain and wind. No grand longhouses yet, just quick, practical shelters they can abandon when the food calls them elsewhere. As evening falls, the hunters return, their faces streaked with sweat and dirt, carrying the day's catch slung over shoulders or dragged on hide drags. One man, let's call him the one with the steady hand, has been out since first light. He moves through the forest like part of it, his bare feet silent on fallen leaves. His main tool is the Atlatl, a carved wooden handle with a bone hook, weighted by a smooth, polished stone banner stone that looks almost like a butterfly frozen in flight. He loads a long dart made of river cane, tipped with a razor-sharp chert point he chipped himself by the fire last night. He stalks deer trails, pausing for hours if needed, reading every broken twig, every fresh hoofprint in the mud, every faint, musky scent on the breeze. When the moment comes, his arm whips forward in a single powerful arc. The Atlatl snaps like a living thing, hurling the dart with terrifying speed and force, enough to punch through thick hide and deep into the vitals of a white-tailed deer from 50 yards or more. The animal stumbles, crashes through brush, and falls. He approaches quietly, kneels, and places a hand on the warm side, murmuring quiet thanks to the spirit that gave its life so his family can eat. But not every day brings such a prize. Many mornings he checks the traps he set the evening before. Traps are his quiet partners. They work while he sleeps or gathers. Along narrow game trails worn into the earth by countless deer and rabbits, he ties snares. He twists strong cordage from plant fibers, milkweed stems, nettles, or inner bark, into a noose loop just the right size for a rabbit's head. For the spring pole version, he finds a flexible young sapling, bends it down until it strains like a drawn bow, and ties it securely to a short stake in the ground with a clever trigger stick notched just so. He baits the trigger with a scrap of dried meat or a cluster of berries, then drapes the snare loop across the path at nose height. When a rabbit nibbles or pushes through, the trigger releases. The sapling snaps upright with a whoosh, yanking the animal into the air by the neck, quick, clean, and far from the reach of predators that might steal the catch. He sets dozens like this along trails, hidden under light leaves so no wary eye spots the danger. For heavier game, he builds deadfalls. He selects a flat, heavy log or a large flat stone, props it up at an angle with a sturdy stick frame. Underneath, he sets a delicate figure 4 trigger, 3 sticks notched and balanced, one upright, one horizontal as the bait stick, one diagonal holding the weight. He smears the bait stick with fat or places a tempting nut or piece of root. A raccoon, squirrel, or even a small fox comes sniffing, tugs at the bait. The delicate balance collapses. The heavy weight crashes down, crushing the skull or spine in an instant. Simple gravity, no noise, no chase. Deeper in the woods or near water, he digs pit traps for bigger quarry like deer. He chooses a well-used path, excavates a hole 4 or 5 feet deep with sloping sides so nothing can scramble out. At the bottom, he drives sharpened wooden stakes upward. Over the top, he weaves thin branches, covers them with leaves, grass, and a dusting of dirt until it looks like unbroken ground. Sometimes he adds a light trail of bait leading right to it. A deer steps forward confidently. The cover gives way with a crack, and it plunges, impaled or trapped, unable to escape. He checks these in the morning light, ready with his knife if needed. In the colder northern reaches, where winters bite deep, with snow blanketing the forests and rivers freezing at the edges, the band moves to sheltered valleys or rock overhangs that block the worst wind. They huddle closer around roaring fires fed with deadfall wood. Hunting shifts to what the season allows. Deer remain the prize. They track them in fresh snow, where every print tells a story of where the animal rested or fed. The white powder muffles footsteps, hides scent better. They stalk bedding areas or ambush near thickets where deer yard up to conserve energy. Small game becomes lifeline. Rabbits turn white in winter coats, easy to spot against dark trees, but caught in snares set along their runs under snow-laden branches. Squirrels chatter in bare oaks. Deadfalls baited with nuts take them. If a bear den is found, the hunters approach carefully with spears, knowing the fat-rich meat and thick hide will carry them through the lean months. Beaver lodges in frozen ponds are sometimes raided for meat and fur. Fishing continues through holes chopped in ice, using bone hooks baited with scraps, or long spears thrust into dark water. Much food comes from what was stored in fall: dried deer meat, smoked fish, ground acorn meal kept in hide bags buried under leaves or in bark-lined pits. Far to the south and east, where summers stretch long and hot, the air thick with humidity and the rivers swollen with fish runs, life feels abundant. The band spreads out near lakes, coastal marshes, or wide river floodplains. Large, semi-permanent camps form, more people together because food is everywhere. The river teems with spawning fish, sturgeon, catfish, drum. They build weirs, lines of sharpened sticks driven into the stream bed to form fences that guide fish into narrow traps or shallow pools where they spear them easily or scoop them with woven nets of twisted fibers. Bone hooks on lines catch bass and perch. Waterfowl, ducks and geese, flock to the wetlands. Hunters use throw nets or stalk them at dawn with atlatls. Deer are still hunted, but less urgently. Traps and fish provide steady protein. Gathering dominates the warm months. Women and children fan out into the woods and meadows. They collect armloads of hickory nuts, acorns, soaked and leached to remove bitterness, walnuts, berries bursting on bushes, blackberries, blueberries, elderberries. Roots like cattail and arrowhead are dug from mudflats with digging sticks. Seeds from sunflowers or chinopods are beaten into meal with heavy grinding stones. Everything is processed by the fire. Nuts cracked on anvil stones, pounded into flour, mixed with water, and baked on hot rocks into flat cakes. Fish are split, smoked over low fires on racks of green branches, or dried in the sun strung on cords. Meat from occasional deer hunts is jerked, thin strips smoked and stored in rawhide parfleches for leaner times. As night deepens, the fire crackles. Stories are told of the clever rabbit that almost escaped the snare, of the great buck that gave itself to the hunter who waited with respect. Children listen, wide-eyed. Elders remind everyone, Take only what you need, give thanks, leave enough for tomorrow and the generations after. The land gives generously when treated with care. In this rhythm, trap, stalk, gather, share. The people endure, season after season, in perfect balance with the world around them.